we're gonna solve the example now. We're gonna start a form. Let's call it contacts. Contacts.js, and inside contacts we're gonna import the usual stuff, component from React, and then we're gonna have a class called contacts and our contacts form, and let's call this contacts form as well. And we're gonna extend component, and we're gonna have a state. The state is gonna be the initial value. We're gonna have a name with an empty name. We're gonna have a subject. It's gonna be empty. I'm gonna have a message. It's gonna be empty as well. We can have anything we want. Then in the render, we are going to have a return. We're gonna render the form. And then we just want to show a label with the input type equals text and name equals the name of this field. It's going to be name, and the value is going to be from the state.name, and on change is going to be the handle for all of them. So it's going to be this.handle input change. I want it to be the same. I'm going to write it just in a little bit. So we have our input, and this label is just gonna have name before it, and then we're gonna end this. Then here we're gonna have the handle input change. It's gonna be a fat arrow function to access this, and then we're gonna update this .set state dynamically using the name of the target. So here I'm gonna get the E. And I know that the name of this target, E.target, name, what? It's just because I... Oh, yeah. Oh, thanks. So now I know that my name, the keys, I'm going to get it dynamically from E.target.name, which is going to be this. And the value of it is going to be E.target.value. So I want to see this working, and let's have a p tag here with this.state.name just to confirm that it's working. And then I'm going to go to app.js, and then I'm going to comment this out, and I'm going to import contacts form from /contacts form. And in contacts form, I'll just import the thing here, and then I should get in localhost 3000. It's not working. So then export default contacts form. Have the name. When we type, we get the thing underneath it. Cool. So we have our name now. We want to duplicate the same thing. We want to have a subject and a message. And here's where I've got to be careful. So have the subject, and the name is going to be subject. That's the thing that's going to be saved. That's going to read from this.state.subject. And it's going to have the same input thing. And then the message could be a text area, or is it input type text area? I don't remember. So this is going to be message. It's going to read from message. Let's see what we have here. And I believe it should be working correctly. Let's have two of these. I'm going to have subject and message. Cool. So I have my three fields, and now I want a button and a submit. So I'm just gonna create an input type equal submit, and the value equal submit as well. You can have button, you can have whatever you want. I think this is more clear that you have the submit here. This.handle submit. and I'm gonna handle the submit here equals E, and then I'm gonna prevent default, then I'm gonna console log this.state just to make sure that I have my fields correctly. So I'm just gonna type 1, 2, 3, and then I should see this in the console. So I have my object with the state 1, 2, 3. That's good. So now I have my object in this. This is how it should look like, very simple. And then if I want to import Axios, I should make sure, I think I did it yesterday. So now I have Axios using mbmi-s Axios. I'm just going to import it from Axios. And I should make sure that I have JSON server running as well. So localhost 3001/contacts. And it's giving me an empty array, which what we should have initially. And then here in the handle submit, I'm gonna call axios.post. This is one of the ways. I'm gonna give it the URL, which is gonna be http:/localhost 3001/contacts. This is what I want to post to. And then I'm gonna give it the JSON object, which is the name and subject and message. I could create it and read it from the state, or I could just send the state as is, because in this case it's the same thing. So this could work, or do it like this, name this.state.name, the same thing, subject. I will do this usually if I want to change the names, but this is more clear. So when I post here, I expect these to be here. I'm going to say an alert, your message saved successfully. Actually, this is a lie, because I need to do it in the then, and then I'm going to have the response. I think in the response it means I should check that the response is state 200 and stuff, but just not the target of it now. And then if I have an error, I'm gonna console the error itself. It's just bare metal stuff. So here I'm posting to this URL with this object, which is a JSON object of my body, the body of the object itself, the request. And then if then, like this is success, I'm gonna say it was saved successfully. Otherwise, I'm gonna throw an error. And here I could say this, the set state, and clear everything. Say the name is empty, and subject is empty as well, and have the message empty. So I clear the form for another entry. So I have a bunch of stuff here. Saved successfully, clear, refresh, it is saved, I have my data. So this is how we post data to Axios. But what if I want to display them using Axios as well, which I want you to practice at home. So let's make another file, and let's call it contacts list. I want to read them. So in contacts list, I will take list and make sense component. I don't need these or these. I don't need any of these. Contacts list, and I don't need the form. Don't need anything basically. So here I want a component that mount. I want to render or get the data from Axios. So I will say here the state will have a bunch of contacts, which is going to be an empty array initially. And then component dead mount, I will call Axios and tell it to return the contacts for me, which I will set to an empty array. And here I'm going to call Axios.get, not post, get. You guys know the REST different types? So I'm going to get from http:/localhost 3001/contacts, And here I don't have to send the body, so I'm not going to send anything next to it. And .then, here's where I get my response. So the response is where I will get the data. So console.log response to see what I will get there will be response.data, but I want to make sure. Then I will have the catch with the error and console.error with the error just to see it. So here I want to see what's going on there. This is in component deadbound, and here I will render just a dev for now. Or if actually, yeah, this is one step at a time. So in app.js, I have the contacts form, and then I have my contacts list from /contacts list, and then I will render this, and this would fetch from the API. So now it types ASDF because that's what I wrote, and in the console I would see the thing that was console logged component that mount, which is the response from Axios. And this data, let's here again. So I got this config, data, headers, and request, and the status. 200 means success. And I know that the thing is going to be in data. So response to data will contain the stuff that I have. Thanks. So, thanks. So if I go to response.data and refresh again, I will get my array. So I could set this. Now I have this data, I want to set it in the state, so I will set state. In contacts, I will save response.data. So response.data is my array. I saved it in contacts, and this is what I'm going to render. So here, let's say I'm going to have an h2 saying contact list, and then I'm going to have a ul, and inside this ul I'm going to render these items. So it could have this state contacts, I'm going to loop over them, and then the normal map, and inside the map I'm going to map over each item. It's going to be contact. I'm going to render li with the key, of course, equals contact.id, which Axios gives us by default. And the end of the li, I'm going to say, let's start with contact.name. So if I do this, I get 1. And if I type Rashid and just anything here, then it's still 1. But if I refresh, I get Rashid. And type Mumtaz, and then anything here, and then I get Mumtaz, and you get the idea. So I want to render the rest of the stuff first of all. So let's say name, contact.name, subject. I could have a better CSS, but just saving time. And then message will be contact.message. So I'm just rendering the elements. So this is each element of them. Cool. So what can we improve here? So let's do a very dummy thing. Let's have a set interval and update this every second. So in this set interval, I will have a function, and in this function, I will call this. So every time, I will do this. And I will do this every second. It's very dummy. And I'm going to do this and save in the server. And 1 second after that, it's going to get updated. So every second the server fetches, updates the state. And when I do this, it's real time. Of course, this is not ideal. Like, this is really bad for performance, but it's really good for just showing that the thing works. So now this doesn't look good. So we could have something here like const contact item, and could be a stateless function that just gets the data. It will get the contact user, and it should return all of this. So here I'll just render contact and send it contact equals contact. Very creative naming. Item, whatever, name it item. Item is contact. So, okay, I want to split. So this is going to be contact item. I want this to be different names. So this is the component, and this is, let's keep this as contact, and let's name this C. So C is what we get from the mapping, and we send it as contact to contact item, and then we're gonna render, we're gonna return this here. Cool. So now we just move the rendering of each item to a different element. You guys could work with this and just make it better styling. You could have different fields, but this is basically what like basic form would do. I wanted to move forward with the form and discuss the rest of these: lifting state up, and composition first inheritance, and thinking React, and how to render elements in the future. But I think what we learned today is really good. So now we can actually take tasks, real life tasks, and implement them and debug them and fix problems. So again, I'm going to move this to the next class. But I would expect you next time to play with forms, be very comfortable with creating components, component dead mount, requests, forms. Just practice it yourself and add stuff that you like. So next time we would think even like doing the search, doing more complex stuff, and play around with it and understand what's going on behind the scene in a component like this. So move one level up. So we would have this that calls an API, and I think in the next two classes, if you guys like reply during the week, I could start giving you tasks to move forward with the library, what's called. So JSON server itself, it has this. So JSON server, I will send you these things. So in JSON, they have this demo hosted online. Live running version. So this is the live running version of JSON server, and they provide posts, comments, albums, photos, and to-dos. So next time I would really like for us to use this data to render a real application, a real to-do application with users, their posts, their to-dos, and create like a real app with images and everything. So these are users, they don't have images, we could make up images for them. But we could render, instead of rendering 1, 2 items, we would render 10 items. And for each item of them, we would have maybe routing, we'd have React router. When we click on one of them, we have another page that renders the items for this user and renders the to-dos of this user. Maybe not just to-dos, maybe to-dos and photos. So we could play around with a real app, like have user and user data and switch between different tabs. We could work on that. But before we do this, I want you to be comfortable with creating components and moving components to smaller items, and just be comfortable with the idea of playing around with React. So what do you think today? Do you think anything is missing? Do you think you wish for something more?
It's a really creative today.
Cool.
Got so many things.
What do you expect from, like, do you want more? I know that we want to go for Redux and state, but I think for me, if you understand this, if you understand the basics and how to play around with it and fix the problem and know like, hey, I hold this, I know what I'm doing, then you just know what Redux is and just inject it in what you know. But knowing the basics is way more important. So with this, you can build on top of it whatever you want. And it's the same what we did today. It's a problem and we need to solve. Okay, it's not working. What to do? Just play around, debug, console log, ask a friend, then you're gonna do whatever you can do, whatever you want to do.
putting some hands-on.
Awesome. That's great. I'm glad to hear that. Maybe we can do it again if you guys want to meet tomorrow. Cool. Well, again, if you want to meet during the week, if you want to have a call.
Make a plan if.
Yeah, but I'm.
No, I'm not pressuring, but I mean, if you have anything extra, if you want more help, if you want to have hands-on, I'm there 24/7.
Okay.
I was working with Isaac like until 4 in the morning. So just please feel free to send me anything you want. If Slack is not enough, let's have a team viewer call. Anything you want, just practice yourself and create awesome apps. I'll try to create this to-do thing and create a real example that you could work on, like a template. But if you just could start with this, like the JSON server, and have this data and render stuff, just render a complete app, render users, and just make the components separately. And then next time we could look at React Router. Maybe you could look at it at home and send me your problems, and then we can have actual routing. And it's very simple. Does that sound good?
Yeah.
Good. We're learning a lot, guys.
Yeah, and also these things should run the Slack or.
Yeah. I'm gonna send everything in Slack.